right, Tony. Now moving into part 2 of our preview, we run down the top 10 teams. So far in part 1, we had a guest, Matt Pierce, join us to talk about Lincoln City, who will be in our top 10, and we'll briefly touch on them once we get to the fourth position of the table, which is where they sit at now. However, all of the other top 10 teams we're going to cover here in this part 2 of the episode. Right now, the first team in the top 10 is Fleetwood Town. They're a team that got off to a slow start. They've won 3 out of their last 5, so they've gotten back on better form. They're showing a +4 goal difference. To me, this is a team that's headed the right way up. And I think that they're going to get further up, but ultimately finish just short of the playoffs in 7th.
In 7th, and okay, I just marked that down. 7th. I had Fleetwood in the 6th playoff position in preseason. I expected a lot out of Fleetwood from Joey Barton and his squad. They certainly got a good signing with your man Camps, but the problem with the Fleetwood is they're too inconsistent.
Exactly,
and I think that inconsistency is going to keep you outside the playoff position. So I actually,
the ass is what you're saying.
yeah. So I have them dropping down to 7th myself, Phil, and I think they'll be there in thereabouts, but I just don't think they're good enough to finish 6th. So I'm going with 7th as well.
All right. Well, Tony, can you real quick remind me what positions that I have left that are in the lower part of the table?
You've got looks like you've got 13th available and 11th and 12th. Oh no, 12th you've got at Oxford, so you got 11th and 13th.
11th and 13th. Okay, perfect. Thanks. Okay, so next up, 9th place, Doncaster. They do only have 10 games played, so they're a team with a game in hand. They're on 17 points, +7 goal difference, 18-4, 11 allowed. You've had Joseph Bursick, who of course was with Stanley last year. He's been strong for them in goal. Madger Gomez got off to a hot start, but he's slowed down a bit. However, Ben Whiteman also has 3 goals, so they're getting some guys chipping in on scoring. I think this is a pretty quality side overall. But I'm just kind of looking at the teams above them, and I'm just wondering, who on this team or who on this list is going to fall, and I'm not really seeing a lot of teams that I think are going to fall far. So I think I'm probably going to have to slot Doncaster into 11th.
11th. Okay, because they're a team that obviously, if Stanley is going to finish 8th, they've got to obviously leapfrog Doncaster. I did have some faith in them from in the preseason, and one of the reasons was obviously the Bursick they signed on the season-long loan, the quality he brings, and I had them at 8th. I don't see them getting higher than that. In fact, I see them similar, saying where they are, and I'm putting them. I'm keeping them in 9th at the moment. I'm gonna see them ending up at 9th.
Yeah, absolutely, and I don't necessarily think they're worse than 9th, but I mean, you just kind of have to find a spot for everybody. And the team coming up next, which is Plymouth Argyle in 8th, which I know a lot of people like to be the preseason, but I don't think anybody saw them in 8th, especially since they've only got 10 games played. +4 goal difference looks pretty nice. But they've got excellent home form.
Yeah.
They've not quite been the same team on the road. Eventually they're going to cool off at home, I think, a little bit. and they're the team that I have slotting down into 13th.
Yeah, I think you're bang on with that, Phil. With the away form is really, it's only better than MK Dons and Swindon, and yeah, the home form there, I don't see it staying that high. They're, as you said, they're number one in home form. I expected them to be a mid-table team, and I have them 11th in the preseason. I think they'll do one better, and I've got them in 10th spot for the my picks at the moment, Phil.
All right, 10th place. Yeah, I mean, I just think that they're not going to stay up in 8th, and 13th sounds about right, but some of these teams are going to move up, and some teams are going to move down, and I just think they're one of the ones that are a little higher than they should be. Now in 7th place, we have Pompey. And I know that you picked them to win the league. They started off slow. They've been playing a lot better. They've won 4 out of their last 5. Marquis is now leading the Golden Boot race with 7 goals. Tony, I'm going to defer to you first since they were your champion. I'm feeling like you probably don't still have them as a champion, but I'm guessing you have them finishing higher than 7th.
You're bang on. You're correct on both accounts there. I think their home form is letting them down. They certainly have the ability to score, like you said, with Marquis and Arness. When those two fellas are on, they're going to put the ball in the net. Yeah, I don't see them outside. They're too good of a team to be where they are now. I don't have them finishing first, but I do have them moving into the playoff position and moving up 3 spots from where they are. And I've got them in 4th spot.
All right. Well, I think that they're going to end up in 5th. 5th.
Okay. So we both agree. We both agree they're going to make the playoffs.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move up 1 spot to the world famous Sunderland.
Till I die.
Sunderland, they've been a very boring team to watch, but they've been relatively effective. 21 points in 10 games played, 6-3-1, +7 goal difference, which is good enough for 6 so far. I actually had them winning the league at the beginning of the season. I don't think that's going to happen necessarily anymore, but I do think that they're going to move up higher than 6. I have actually taken them out of the automatic promotion spot, and I'm going to finish Sunderland at 3rd.
3rd, okay. And I had Sunderland in my preseason at 3rd. As you said, they're 6th at the moment. I have them in at 3rd as well, Phil. I just think they're too good to be out of the playoffs, and just not enough home wins to get in the top 2. So I'm going to go with them at 3rd. I'm still going to stick with them at the moment as the playoff winner. But they're going to have to do it, as I say, starting out in 3rd position.
Well, I'm right there with you, Tony. I think that they're going to be a boring team. They're going to slug out a lot of 1-0 and 1-1 games, and at the end of the season, I think that we might end up with Sunderland Pompey playoff final.
Yeah, that's a realistic chance for sure.
All right. Moving up 1 spot to 5th, we have Hull City. They're also 21 points through 10 matches played. They are a team that I think is overperforming a little bit, will eventually fall out of the playoffs. And Tony, do I have 9th or 10th open still?
Yeah, it looks like you got both open, Phil.
How can I have them both open?
Oh, you got 14 twice.
Who do I have in 14th twice? Who are
you got Blackpool at 14th and Rochdale at 14th.
Oh, okay. So that's okay. So do this. Um, Slot Rochdale into 13th, and then just move up my 13th place team to 12th, 12th place team to 11th, and 11th
Oh,
team to 10th.
this is good. Say that. So you want 11th to 12th or 13th to 12th. I've got that. What was the other one?
12th to 11th, and then 11th to 10th.
Okay, who's your 12th place team? Oh, you've got Oxford.
Yeah.
So you want them at 11th?
Yeah, 11th.
Okay.
And then who do I have at 11th?
Well, you got Oxford now.
Well, who did I have before?
Sorry. You don't. It's open. It was open. You didn't have anybody in the 11th.
I thought 9 and 10 were open.
10, no, Doncaster, you got 10.
Oh, okay. So then, all right. So then I'm going to put Hull City in 9th.
Okay. Hull City
in 9th. So let me just. So I've got Lakin in 6th, and I've got Fleetwood in 7th.
Yep.
And then I have, who do I have 8th?
Accrington.
Yeah, Stanley in 8th. And then 9th, I have Hull.
Yes.
And then 10th, I have Doncaster.
Correct.
And then 11th, I have Oxford.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. We're good now. Sorry.
Okay.
All right. Well, and Tony, where do you have Hull City at?
I didn't give Hull a lot of credit because I thought the way they ended their season and coming out of the championship, that they might not be able to put the brakes on, and I had them at 10. And I think they have lost 2 of the last 3 matches, but they are a better team than I anticipated. I have them making the playoffs, Phil, and I've got them in 5th position. So I've got them moving up from 10th to 5th.
Interesting. All right. So you think where they're at now is where they're going to finish?
Yeah, I think they've nudged out Oxford in one of the playoff position teams that I have. So yeah, I think I'm comfortable in them making the playoffs.
All right, I like it, but I'm not seeing it.
Okay. Well, that's it. We can't agree on everything, Phil. We got
that would be boring.
Yeah.
Now in 4th, we did the in-depth chat on Lincoln City at the beginning of Port 1, so go back and listen to that if you haven't. I had them finishing in 6th in the final playoff spot. And Tony, you had them just outside the playoffs, right?
Yeah, I got them finishing 8th, Phil.
All right. Now moving up to 3rd place, we have the team that is in the best form in the league, Charlton Athletic, 22 points through 10 games. So they do have a game in hand. They're 3 points behind first place Peterborough, who so basically they could be tied for the league lead if they win that game in hand. And Charlton is actually the team that I now have winning the league. I think, they're a team that dropped down from the championship. They got promoted 2 years ago. I think that their, class is starting to show. So I'm going to have Charlton winning the league.
Well, you're just plain boring, Phil. Guys, that's who I've got in my first position as well. I agree. I think Lee Boyers, has got the team stabilized from the off season at the beginning of the season where they had off field issues, and I think that was one of the reasons. I always liked Lee Boyer, but one of the reasons why I thought that they may struggle is because of the off-field antics. But he's certainly put together a squad that's really bought in and overperforming for a lot of people. But they're in such good form that I can't see them not winning the league at this point, Phil.
Agreed. All right, we've got 2 left. The next one is the Tractor Boys of Ipswich Town, who got off to that raging hot start and stumbled a little bit, losing 3 out of their last 5. They're still in second. I do think that they're better than last year. I do think they'll end up making the playoffs, but I do have them slotted into the 4th position.
Okay. Yeah, I think they're a team that, you said started well, and that's they did that last season too. I just think again they're a team. They're a good team, but just have that little bit of inconsistency. And when you look, they've lost 3 out of the last 5. Mm-hmm. That's not a good record form wise for any team that you want to put into an automatic playoff position. Automatic promotion position. And for that reason, I think they're good enough to be in the playoffs. But I've got them finishing 6th, Phil. I think they're good enough to be in the playoffs, but their form doesn't suggest automatic promotion.
Exactly. I mean, I think we're exactly on the same page. The inconsistency, it's going to hurt them. Charlton seems more consistent. And then the other team, it's currently at the top of the table, which is the Posh, which is, not unexpected. We both had them very high up. And ultimately, I'm slotting the Posh into 2nd, as my thought is the Posh are really good on offense. Charlton is really good on defense. And ultimately, I think the team that's really good on defense will probably win out. Both teams will get the automatic promotion, but I'm going to say the Posh will finish at 2nd.
Yeah, I had Peterborough in 2nd in my preseason, simply because of the players they brought in and their manager. But you've only got 2 losses, and one of those was the first match of the season against Stanley. So they've obviously put some good wins and a good record together. I've got them in 2nd as well, Phil. I think Charlton and Peterborough, to be honest, I think they're going to have some space between them and the 3rd place team. I see these 2 teams going head to head, and maybe having several point difference between the 3rd place team. So I think these 2 teams are going to be a lock-in for automatic promotion at the end of the season.
Well said, Tony. Well, that was it for the list, and we've covered a lot of ground here. I don't know if we were tremendously controversial or anything. We seem to pretty much agree on just about 85% of the table. But
well, I think, Phil, the thing is you've got it when you're a realist. Sometimes that doesn't bring controversial discussion, but I mean, you've got to go with the form and the facts in front of you. And I think we've made some adjustments because let's face it, when we did our preseason picks, there was no games and preseason matches to sort of look at, and we were going by feel and what they did from last year and the players they brought in. But I think, I feel more comfortable about the picks now. Maybe at halfway point, we may have some different outlook, but I'm feeling pretty good about where we are.
Yeah, there's going to be some teams that go up the table, and there's going to be some teams that go down the table. And, we picked a few, but I don't think we really picked any drastic jumps for anybody. I mean, I think probably, Stanley in 8th was my most ambitious pick.
Well, I think for me, Phil, I mean, I've got Charlton moving up 13 spots in my table, and that's huge in League One. And then for a disappointment, I've got Oxford dropping 12. That's 2 big moves, and one's going, obviously going up in to the point where I've gotten them winning the league now, and Oxford, they've just disappointed. But there's a couple other teams, honorable mentions for that have performed better than expected. Wimbledon is another one. Hull and Bristol Rovers. You got to give credit to those teams. And underperforming, obviously outside of Oxford, we've got the Burton, Swindon, and Gillingham are teams that have dropped in my estimation. And I think, one of the surprising things that, and we talked about this before, Phil, is there's managers on the hot seat for this season, and we've only had one manager leave, and that was on his own accord. And I thought, to be honest with you, Phil, although there's managers under pressure, I just don't see anybody being fired, and I think that comes down to budgets and not having the money, and that I think will be a good thing for football, because it allows a manager that if he's having some trouble to turn things around, and that's what the big criticism sometimes is: managers are let go and they just don't have the time, especially in the Premier League. And I think this could be a good thing, is that managers are good and be given time at the bottom to turn things around.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think that's what we talked about the other day with Buxton, where, he's just in there because he's a guy that was already under contract that they were paying as a player. They said, hey, come be the manager instead, But, I mean, ultimately, I think that you're right. I think that Oxford certainly is the biggest surprise. And to me, here's the thing is, when I look at the top 10, there's really only one team that surprises me that's in there, and that's Plymouth. And then when I look from 11th on down, there's only one team that surprises me as being 11th on down, and that's Oxford.
Yeah, I think Oxford are really the surprise team as far as expectations, because when you're expected to be in the playoffs and you're actually now battling relegation, that's the biggest surprise. I know I mentioned Charlton, but it's not as a big a surprise because Charlton dropped down and they are a big club. It's just Oxford have gone the other way, and disappointed a lot of people, because a lot of people had high expectations for them for sure.
Well, see, that's exactly it. I mean, I know that we both had Charlton and Hull much lower than they are, but at the same time, it's not surprising to see them up there because they're both teams that came down. We just kind of tempered our expectations back based on the fact that they ended poorly last season. But I mean, realistically, anytime any team comes down for the championship, it's not going to be surprising to see if they're doing well. Even if, you thought maybe it was going to be tough. I think Charlton, we were mostly concerned with their off-the-pitch stuff. Doesn't seem to have phased them. Hull, like you said, they just ended last season so bad we didn't know if they were going to turn it around. Charlton, it looks like, we both think that they're the class of the league. Hull, I think that they're overperforming a little and will slide out of the playoffs, but still finish in the top 10. I think it sounds like you see them staying right there in fifth.
Yeah, and I think when you mentioned about Stanley finishing eighth, and I think it would be tremendous if we could see that. It means that you look at the teams ahead. They're all big clubs except, and I hate to say this, but I don't think Fleetwood are in the same league as far as size of clubs as Peterborough, Sunderland, Charlton, Portsmouth, Hull, Ipswich. So if you got to finish eighth, you're going to have really some quality teams above you, and things are going to have to fall into place. And I would, if somebody offered eighth to Stanley now, I'd take that in a second.
Oh, absolutely, and it would be a historically high finish because 14th in 2018-19. So I mean, anything 13th or better, we're making history.
Sounds good.
All right, Tony. Well, it's been a lot of fun.
Yes.
Until next time, on Stanley
on.
Cheers.